Syracuse University, it's time for the past to meet the present in the all-new Citrus TV entertainment show, Alumni Alley. Charlie Goldberg here alongside my co-host Anastasia Frazier. And Anastasia, what a great show we have tonight.
We really do, Charlie. That's absolutely right. A fantastic show is ahead, and an exclusive interview with a special guest is coming up later in the night. I'm so excited for you to sit down and talk with the famous comedian and roaster, Lisa Lampanelli.
She truly is the queen of mean. She's one of the funniest alumni you're ever going to see.
Before we get to that, we have a few alumni updates still to come. Our sports reporter Ian Nicholas will give us an update on Kingsley Jonathan.
Anastasia, you're going to tell us about the life and career of Lisa Lampanelli.
And our reporter Alana Epstein is sharing a story about a famous Syracuse alum.
But first, I'm going to pass things over to our trivia reporter with tonight's interactive question, Alexa Lamalfa.
Thanks, Charlie. Every episode, I'll be here on Alumni Alley, giving you guys a trivia question about our guest. Tonight's question is, who of the following talk show hosts has not featured Lisa Lampanelli on their show? It's a choice between A, Jimmy Kimmel, B, David Letterman, C, Jimmy Fallon, or D, Jay Leno. Stay tuned to find out the answer.
Now, here to talk about another Syracuse alum is our alumni reporter, Alana Epstein.
Thanks, Anastasia. 24-year-old Margot Lee is a lifestyle and family YouTuber who graduated from Syracuse University in 2020. She first came to Syracuse in 2016 and joined the Delta 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 sorority and quickly gained followers with each video that she posted on YouTube. She currently has over 487,000 subscribers. The content creator also has 209,000 followers on Instagram and another 163,000 followers on TikTok. Lee first created her YouTube channel in September of 2012. She is still posting today. Throughout her time at the Newhouse School at Syracuse University, Margot Lee created various videos about game days, sorority rush, moving in, and more. She also accepted a PR internship. Today, she lives in New York City and travels around the world. Recently, she posted in Under Canvas Acadia and Indio, California. Currently, Lee is the host of her brand new podcast, The Working Title Podcast. She calls herself an internet person. Lee's career was largely influenced by her time at Syracuse University. We look forward to seeing what she accomplishes next. That's all I got right now. I'll be back next week with another alumni update.
Thanks, Alana. Margot Lee has been one of my favorite alumni to follow, and currently I'm sitting at the desk with Ian Nicholas, our alumni sports reporter, and he's going to tell us all about the most recent alumni who went pro. So thank you so much, Ian, for being here with us tonight.
Thanks so much for having me.
My first question for you is, why did the Chicago Bears sign Kingsley Jonathan after his release from the Buffalo Bills?
Well, they picked him up because they're looking for young players with upside. And Kingsley Jonathan was just an undrafted free agent who had a really solid 5-year career with the Syracuse Orange team. And he's 24 years old, which means he's a little bit older for a rookie. But obviously, the Buffalo Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL right now. They saw something in the former member of Syracuse. And, well, Chicago, who doesn't have a lot of great depth at his position of edge rusher, is looking to take a stab at a guy who's young and has upside. So that's exactly why Kingsley Jonathan finds himself on a 53-man NFL roster.
That's so great. And as a Nigerian native, how did Jonathan end up at Syracuse in the first place?
Well, it's a bit of a crazy story because he didn't actually immigrate to the U.S. until he was 15 years old, and he came here alone. And his dream wasn't to play football, it was to play basketball. He was always bigger than everybody else, and he wanted to come here to pursue an athletic career, but originally in basketball. He learned how to play football watching YouTube videos, and he made his freshman football team when he immigrated to the U.S. from North Carolina, eventually moved to Baltimore ahead of his senior year from high school, and long story short, found himself getting a ton of offers to play Division I football. He chose Dino Babers in the Syracuse Orange, and Dino Babers said, look, we needed him, but he needed us. They changed really everything when Kingsley Jonathan came to town.
Wow, that's an amazing story, and he obviously has so many skills. So what makes Jonathan special outside of his abilities on the field?
He is extremely intelligent and a great leader. I mean, numerous times he was one of the best student athletes in the entire ACC. In fact, in 2020, he was the best student athlete amongst all football players in the conference. And just last year, in his 5th and final year with the Syracuse football team, he was a semifinalist for the award for one of the top collegiate sportsmen in the nation. So Kingsley Jonathan is exactly the kind of young player that you want on a rebuilding team like the Chicago Bears, because the Bears, to be perfectly honest, are not going to be very competitive for a while, but when you bring in a high character guy with the kind of intelligence that Jonathan has, regardless of how lengthy of a career he's going to have, he's going to help build the culture once again for a Chicago team which hasn't done a lot of winning in a while.
Wow. Thank you so much for breaking all of that down for us and for our viewers. We're looking forward to having you back again next week. Thank you, Ian. So now to reveal the answer to our trivia question is once again Alexa Lamaffa.
Thank you, Anastasia. And it's now time to reveal the answer to tonight's trivia question. The correct answer is C, Jimmy Fallon. And when we return from the break, we'll get to meet the Queen of Mean herself as she makes her way up to Alumni Alley after the break.
And now it is my honor to welcome an all-time great comedian and roaster. Outside of her being a fan-favorite guest on The Howard Stern Show, she's brought her talents to numerous Comedy Central roasts, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, The Late Night Show with David Letterman, and now she's going to be the premier guest on Alumni Alley. Ladies and gentlemen, the beloved Queen of Mean, Lisa Lampanelli. Lisa, it is an absolute honor to have you here on the show.
Dude, I have no idea what kind of charitable mood I was in to say I do this, but you look like a good kid, and I think I can handle it.
Well, I hope I'm a good kid, and let me tell you, I remember growing up listening to Howard Stern in my dad's car, and you'd be on it all the time. You are one of the funniest people I know, and I'm not just saying that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, man. Now, you're a student. What year are you in?
So I'm a sophomore right now, and I'm also in Newhouse, just like you were. I'm a broadcasting and digital journalism major.
Wow. From what I've seen so far, I doubt you will succeed. So I hope your father has money.
We're all right. We're all right. Well, speaking of successful, let's talk about you and your career. You graduated Syracuse in 1983 with a degree in newspaper journalism, and then you ended up getting into editing and being a fact checker at various publications. Now, with a stable job, what made you decide to take the risk and move into comedy?
You know what's weird? I was working at Rolling Stone magazine in the research department, they called it at the time. And it was a bunch of fact checkers. And one of your brethren, and I mean fellow Jewish Americans, Steve Futterman, I hope he's still alive because he really inspired me to do comedy. We were working together in close quarters. And you're just fact checking and it's fine. And I'm really anal and I really love to always get everything perfect. I'm a great editor. But there was something in me that's like, oh, I want to try this comedy. Even if I try it once and it doesn't work out, that's fine. Like, just have to try it. So I went to this guy, Steve, who was really funny. And I said, dude, like, I think I should try stand-up. And he's like, oh, you don't want to do that. It's all self-centered. It's all about you. It's so needy. And I go, sounds perfect. So I decided with that encouragement to live a fully self-centered lifestyle on the stage. I tried stand-up for the first time when I was about 30. And luckily for me, it started working out.
That's absolutely incredible. And to say that it worked out is a complete understatement. You had huge appearances on Comedy Central, especially your roasts. And my favorite roast personally is yours of Chevy Chase, which ended up giving you your big break. It brought you to Howard Stern, who was your hero at the time. Talk to me about your first experience on Howard Stern. How were you feeling going into that interview?
Well, here's the thing about Howard. I always revered him. He was always one of my heroes. And now he's obviously evolved so much that he's even more of a hero to me. And I knew I had to wait to go on till I had something to talk about. Because you can't just go on and be like everybody else. So I go, okay, the Chevy Chase roast was such a dumpster fire. Other than a few performances, everybody bombed. Chevy was a total, he was horrible. He didn't even laugh at anybody. He just stared at us with his sunglasses. And I was like, I could talk to Howard about that. And thank God I go on Howard, do a nice appearance, have these behind the scenes stories, tell all the jokes that didn't get aired. And it just took off. So I waited to the right time, which, by the way, I think is really smart for a lot of people in your position and students to learn that you can push yourself, but not force yourself. I think you have to wait for your moment and seize it and be fully prepared. So I kind of was lucky enough that Howard had me back again and again. And I think that's why he did it.
With really all of your appearances, with all of your roasts on Comedy Central, you basically noticed that you started to get more and more recognized just really walking around New York City. Talk to me about your eventual rise to stardom.
It was so weird because I never minded being recognized, and now I don't mind not being recognized. So it always shocks me when somebody recognizes me now because my appearance has changed so much. But I do love when people come up to you. This was the greatest thing back in the day. People would come up to me and they'd say, "Hey, here's my phone. Can you call my wife and call her whatever?" Whatever it is. I was like, absolutely. That stuff made me laugh and made me have fun. And that's why when Cameo came out, where you call people and send them videos of yourself, I wouldn't do it because I was like, I want to do that for free. Like, I don't think we should charge fans to have us insult people. So I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was a little upset when after the Celebrity Apprentice, I would get recognized and people say, "Oh, you were so mean." And I was like, yeah, but I was trying to win. I wanted to win for my charity, And then they would kind of understand if you explained yourself. But, most of the time it was pretty cool. No one ever was mean to me, thankfully.
No, and obviously behind all that mean, you are one of the nicest people in the world, I would say. You've helped donate to charities, and right now you've actually recently retired from comedy. You announced it on the Howard Stern show, and you transitioned into being a life coach. What exactly is being a life coach like?
Well, I would say it's a huge flop because after about 3 months of doing it, I hated every single person that I was trying to coach because they won't go at my speed. And that's the worst thing in a coach is when you want them to change more rapidly than they want to change. So I start doing it. I'm coaching these clients. I'm like, I want to kill every one of them. So I said, let me not do that anymore. Let me step away. And I started doing just little projects here and there. And I was like, I'm retired. I really don't have to do anything. And it's really fun to just have free time. So I did a podcast for about a year that was so much fun. It was called Losers with a Dream with two buddies of mine. It was so cool. Talked about deep issues, but from a funny point of view. And now I'm doing a show about failure called Lisa Lampanelli, Big Fat Failure. And it's about sort of all the things I've tried all my life and failed at. Even though I was a success at one big thing, I tried a billion things, which is also something people in your position should know. You're going to fail at 90% of the stuff you try. And then the one thing that sticks, great, or the two things. So I'm doing that show. If people want tickets, please go to my Instagram at Lisa Lampanelli. Anyway, and it's good to talk about things you weren't so good at or things that you screwed up. And it's taken ownership of like where no one in that audience who's failed at anything will feel alone anymore. We've all effed up and we've all just got to like move on from it.
Yeah, no, everybody fails at something, at least in their life. And without broadcasting, I hope I am pretty decent at it. I can't be an accountant. I can't be a math guy. I can't be in social studies. School's not my forte, but being here is my forte.
You got your rich father and you might marry a rich broad and then you'll sit on your ass all day. That's how I feel is your future happening for you. Charles Goldberg.
I would not mind sitting on my butt all day. And the fact that I'm just being roasted by you, my life is complete right now. I'm very happy.
Well, I must tell you, I'm very critical of interviewers. I have yelled at interviewers in the past because they are unprepared. And I yelled at a girl. I remember, again, one of my failings is that I used to yell a lot, which is horrible. But she was so unprepared. I remember once she said to me, "So tell me about yourself." And I'm like, "Oh, girl, you got to prepare a little bit." So Charles, you got one thing going for you so far. You're prepared. I like it. The second thing, you don't seem awkward, which I also like. So I would think you will be a non-syndicated local weatherman at some point. I'm very happy for you.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Well, let's talk about Syracuse University. The show is Alumni Alley. Talk to me about your experience really overall at Syracuse. Where did you live your first couple of years?
Let me tell you something. This is a highly unpopular thing I'm going to say for anyone coming on this show. I don't remember a thing. I was a transfer student, which is really difficult. I had gone to Boston College for a year. Back then, it was a lot easier to get into than it is now, or else I wouldn't have gotten in. I was smart, but I was no genius. So I went to BC, and honestly, Charles, I can speak freely. I hated it. It was literally an extension of high school. So I was really brutally unsatisfied there. And I saw this Syracuse has this program in journalism, and I had become really good at editing papers and writing and things. So I applied, and thank God I got in. And I lived off campus at Syracuse because as a transfer, they put you in some weird housing. I can't remember what it was called, but thank goodness it was with all other transfer students. And it was super fun and cute. But other than that, never went to a game, felt totally like I didn't belong. But you know what? I think this might normalize this for some of your viewers and go, hey, college wasn't the best, but I got through. I had my classes. I sometimes had my schedule so that I only went to class Tuesday and Thursday. So I had like 5-day weekends or 4-day weekends. And you get through it and you freaking move forward. So I must say that I could go to Syracuse right now into the town and not have PTSD. And that's good.
Well, that is really great advice. And when it comes to more advice, especially to those watching this wanting to be comics in the future, is there anything you would say to them, especially in this climate where everyone's so afraid of being canceled?
Yeah, I would say if you have something original to say, gone are the days where, like, I mean, I made it big, not really talking about myself that much except for my book and then in later specials that I did. But the days are gone where you could sort of just make fun and do this and do that for the most part. If you're willing to really talk about yourself, if you're really willing to, and this is going to be hard for a lot of people, but you have to get into an acting class. You got to get into an improv class. You got to become a pro on your feet. If you're willing to not make a lot of money for the first 10 years, I mean, Lewis Black said it best. Lewis Black made it when he was 50. He had started stand-up, get this, at Yale at age 18. So he had 32 years of making almost nothing. And he said, if you sort of average out what he made after The Daily Show with all the free stuff he's done, he's still making migrant worker pay. It's basically, you have to be willing to put a lot of time in for potentially no payoff just because you love it. So the love has to be there, or you're probably going to just end up going, not for me.
Lisa Lampanelli, everybody, the queen of mean. Be sure to read her book, Chocolate, please. It's an absolute great read. And Lisa, it has been such an honor to have you on the show today.
And it is an honor to one last time plug my show. Lisa Lampanelli, big fat failure. Go to Instagram at Lisa Lampanelli. And by the way, Charles, if they don't know how to spell my name for that Instagram, they don't get to be my fan.
Oh, don't worry. Well, that's like the first thing I'm going to do.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Lisa.